All right, let's jump right in. We're going to pull back the curtain on a name you see literally every day, a brand you probably have in your pocket at this very moment. But what if I told you that the company you think you know is just the tiniest tip of a colossal invisible iceberg? So, yeah, let's take a look and see what's really going on. Right? Samsung? You immediately think of those sleek phones, the amazing TVs, maybe even one of their smart fridges. And you know what? That's exactly what they want you to think. It's the public face they've perfected, the one we all recognize instantly. But that's just a sliver of the real story. Because, get this, that same company is an absolute titan of heavy industry. We're talking about massive container ships, gigantic oil tankers. These things are basically floating cities, and they're all built under the Samsung name. And it doesn't stop at the shoreline. Nope. They are also a major player in the world of defense. They manufacture some seriously advanced military hardware, like the K9 Thunder, which happens to be one of the most popular self-propelled howitzers in the entire world. And if that wasn't already enough to blow your mind, just look up. Their construction division? Oh, they were just the primary contractor for the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. So from the phone in your hand to the literal horizon, their influence is, well, it's everywhere. So that brings us to our first big idea here, the empire you don't see. We're about to peel back that shiny, consumer-friendly layer and really confront the jaw-dropping scale of this hidden operation. And the scale we're talking about, it's genuinely hard to wrap your head around. The very same corporate group that designs the tiny processor in your phone also builds high-performance jet engines that power commercial airliners and military jets all over the globe. This isn't just a company that does a few different things. This is industrial dominance on a whole other level. Now, this massive scale isn't just a fun little trivia fact. It has a staggering, unbelievable impact on an entire nation's economy. So, just how big are we talking? Well, get ready for a number that's probably going to make you do a double take. 17%. That's it. That's the number. The Samsung Group generates 17% of South Korea's entire gross domestic product. Just let that sink in for a second. One single company is responsible for nearly a fifth of its home country's whole economy. So, of course, that brings up a huge question. How on earth does a company get this big and this diverse? Well, this is where we get into what's called their dark horse strategy. This isn't just random growth. It's a very specific and incredibly powerful business playbook. And at the very heart of this playbook is a concept called corporate versatility. So think of it like this. You don't just get good at one thing. No, you systematically enter and then dominate a bunch of different, sometimes totally unrelated industries. But the real key, the absolute masterstroke, is to control the fundamental technologies that everything else has to rely on. And this is why calling them dark horse giants is just so perfect. You know, like a dark horse in a race, you don't see their true strength at first glance. They have this immense power that they wield from behind the scenes, and they're often underestimated because their public brands, the phones and TVs, hide the true scale of their industrial might. This whole strategy really boils down to two main pillars. First, you target and you dominate emerging markets to build up a massive foundation. But that second pillar, that's the real game changer. You seize control of what are called essential technologies. Because think about it, when you own the parts that nobody else can do without, you're not just playing the game anymore. You're making the rules for everyone. And a perfect example of one of these essential technologies? Memory chips. Samsung is a global powerhouse in producing the RAM and the storage that goes into pretty much every piece of modern electronics. We're talking everything from their competitor smartphones to the giant servers that run the internet. By controlling that critical component, they have unbelievable leverage over the entire tech world. And this strategy, this is how they build a global phenomenon. So for this last part, let's see how this all allows them to control global supply and why it's leading to the rise of these so-called invisible empires. Because, Samsung isn't totally alone in this. This model of corporate versatility has created a handful of these massive, multi-talented corporations all around the world. They're the invisible empires that quietly shape global supply chains. They influence what gets made, how it gets made, and how much it costs, all from just out of sight. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. We've just glimpsed the true scale of one company we all thought we knew. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this is the massive shadow cast by just one company, who are the other invisible empires, and what parts of our world do they control?